Peace, Israel. Thy righteousness is an everlasting righteousness, and thy law is the truth. The title of this lesson is The 10 Commandments. Once again, this lesson is entitled The 10 Commandments. A sister on the channel wanted me to cover the 10 Commandments and which ones we are to follow, or actually to follow all of them. But I'm going to go over the 10 Commandments because she had requested that this be done. So once again, brace yourselves, tighten up your jaws. Don't turn to the left or to the right, or you will get hit in the mouth. We are to walk the straight and narrow way of the Most High's commandments. All right, let's deal with the 10 commandments that was given to the children of Israel at Sinai. All right, we will start off with Exodus chapter 19. We'll start off Exodus chapter 19. Excuse me, we're reading the entire chapter. And Exodus chapter 19 verse 1 reads, In the 3rd month, when the children of Israel were gone forth out of the land of Egypt, the same day came they into the wilderness of Sinai. Verse 2, For they were departed from Rephidim, and were come to the desert of Sinai, and had pitched in the wilderness. And there Israel camped before the mount. And Moshe went up before Yah, and Yah called unto him out of the mountain, saying, Thus shalt thou say to the house of Jacob, and tell the children of Israel. Remember, the house of Jacob, the children of Israel, same people. Verse 4, Ye have seen what I did unto the Egyptians, and how I bare you on eagle's wings, and brought you unto myself. Myself is singular, the Most High is one. Verse 5, Now therefore, if you will obey my voice indeed, and keep my covenant, then ye shall be a peculiar treasure unto me above all people. For all the earth is mine. Verse 6, And ye shall be unto me a kingdom of priests, and a holy nation. Let me repeat that. That way all Israelites hearing this word shall know, regardless of your tribe, we are a kingdom of priests. So people hear about the house of Israel, or Israel being tasked as a special people or a chosen people. The question is, chosen to do what? And what we are chosen to do, number one, we are to be the servants to the Most High. We are to be his priest, and we are chosen to teach his word to all the nations of the earth. So every Israelite has a job to do. This is our work. That is why we must return to the law, statutes, judgments, and precepts, and we are to teach it to the house of Israel first, and then we are to teach it to all the many nations of the earth. So we are a kingdom of priests. Now, once again, and ye shall be unto me a kingdom of priests and a holy nation. That's everyone. These are the words which thou shalt speak to the children of Israel. Verse 7, And Moses came and called for the elders of the people, and laid before their faces all the words which Yah commanded him. Verse 8, And all the people answered together and said, All that Yah has spoken we will do. And Moshe returned the words of the people unto the Most High. So the people were given some instructions via Moses, okay? And Moses took their response. Our response was at the time, whatever the Most High said we will do. And thus Moshe reported our response back to the Most High. So it is confirmed we're in a covenant that whatever the Most High instructed Moshe to tell us, we made a clear agreement that we would do this. Verse 9, And Yah said unto Moses, Lo, I come unto thee in a thick cloud, and the people may hear when I speak, that the people may hear when I speak with thee, and believe thee forever. And Moshe told the words of the people unto Yah. And Yah said unto Moses, Go unto the people and sanctify them today and tomorrow, and let them wash their clothes. Verse 11, And be ready against the 3rd day. For the 3rd day Yah will come down in the sight of all the people upon Mount Sinai. Verse 12. And thou shalt set bounds unto the people round about, saying, Take heed to yourselves, that ye go not up into the mount, or touch the border of it. Whosoever touches the mount shall surely be put to death, or shall be surely put to death. Verse 13. There shall not an hand touch it, but he shall surely be stoned, or shot through. Whether it be beast or man, it shall not live. When the trumpet soundeth long, they shall come up to the mount. And Moshe went down from the mount unto the people, and sanctified the people, and they washed their clothes. Verse 15. And he said unto the people, Be ready against the third day, come not at your wives. All right, so the Most High at this point is going to meet with us on the third day. So we had to be appear before the Most High with clean clothes, and we were not to come unto our wives. Now, if you are following this channel and you have been learning anything at all, you know clearly that once seed is ejaculated from a male, from a man of Israel, he is unclean until evening. So if we know certainly that we're going to be meeting with the Most High, or the Most High is going to be meeting with us, okay, we cannot come unto our wives, because if we do that, then we will be unclean, and so will she also be unclean, okay, because our seed has come forth from us. And that is why we warned here in this verse that we were not to come unto our wives, because had we done so, we would be appearing before the Most High, and we would be unclean if we did this thing. So that's why we're being warned, do not come not at your wives. We're not to lay down with our wives prior to this meeting with the Most High. That way we do not appear before the Most High unclean. All right. Verse 16. And it came to pass on the third day in the morning that there were thunders and lightnings, and a thick cloud upon the mount, and the voice of the trumpet exceedingly loud, so that all the people that was in the camp trembled. Everyone's in fear at this point. Verse 17. And Moshe brought forth the people out of the camp to meet with Yah, and they stood at another part of the mount. And Mount Sinai was altogether on a smoke, because Yah descended upon it in fire, and the smoke thereof ascended as the smoke of a furnace. And the whole mount quaked greatly. So this mountain is shaking and it's smoking. And the people, the house of Israel, were in fear at this point. And when the voice of the trumpet sounded long and waxed louder and louder, Moshe spake, and Yah answered him by voice. So the Most High is speaking to Moshe, or Moshe speaking to the Most High. The Most High responds to Moshe, and all the house of Israel can hear is the voice of the Most High. We did not see anything. All we heard was a voice. That's it. Verse 20. And Yah came down upon Mount Sinai on the top of the mount. And Yah called Moshe up to the top of the mount, and Moshe went up. And Yah said unto Moses, Go down, charge the people, lest they break through unto Yah to gaze, and many of them perish. And let not the priests also, which come near to Yah, sanctify themselves, lest Yah break forth upon them. So should the priest, if they were to also come before the Most High, okay, if they weren't sanctified, if they weren't clean or purified, then the Most High would break forth upon them, which means simply that some of these priests would die if this thing took place. Okay, so they were to be sanctified and be cleaned, as we were warned to make sure that we didn't come unto our wives. Verse 23. And Moshe said unto Yah, the people cannot come up to the Mount Sinai, cannot come up to Mount Sinai. For thou chargest us, saying, Set bounds about the mount, and sanctify it. And Yah said unto him, Away, get thee down, and thou shalt come up, thou and Aaron with thee. But let not the priest and the people break through to come up unto Yah, lest he break forth upon them. So Moses went down unto the people, and spake unto them. So it was clear that as Moshe spoke unto the house of Israel, telling us clearly that we were not to touch the borders of the mount at all, we were to stand back. Okay. And Moshe also had to warn the priest as well that none of them were to come forth. Only Moshe alone, and Moshe and Aaron. Okay. But we were not allowed to come in there to take a peek, to touch the mount in any way, because had we done so, this would get us killed. Okay. Now let's move to Exodus chapter 20. So we'll read Exodus chapter 19. We just finished 19, and we will now read Exodus chapter 20. And Yah spake all these words, saying, I am Yah thy strong one, which brought forth thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. So once again, the Most High brought us out from Egypt. No one by the name of JC brought us out of bondage from Egypt. And I want you to read clearly, the Most High says, I am the Lord thy God. I am thy strong one. Okay? I am thy strength. I, singular. Verse 3. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. There should be no JC before him or anyone else. Okay? Now, that is the very first commandment that we're getting. Before we got that, the Most High is letting us know clearly that I am Yah, thy strong one, which have brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. He's letting us know he's singular right off the bat. Okay? Verse 3, thou shalt have no other gods before me, no idols. We shall worship no one but the Most High Yah, who brought us out of Egypt. Verse 4, thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image. That cross and those pictures of JC, whether he's black, white, or Chinese, is against the Most High's laws, against the 10 Commandments, is against the second commandment right here. Okay, thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image, or any likeness of anything that is in the heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water underneath the earth, or under the earth. So, if you have a JC cross on your neck, if you have a picture of JC in your house, in your car, or anything, or in your car, or anywhere like that, you are in violation of this commandment. Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image. A picture of a man on a cross is a graven image. And if you have it in gold or silver, these are graven images. Okay? We should not have any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water underneath the earth. So, if you have a cross with a man strung out on it in gold, in silver, or anything else, and it is on your neck, in your house, or in your possession, it is an accursed thing, or you're in violation of this law, of this commandment. Verse 5, thou shalt not bow down thyself to them. If you're bowing down to statues in these quote-unquote churches, which are eminent high places, you are in violation. You are not to serve them, for I, singular, the strong one, or I, Yah thy strong one, am a jealous strong one, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me. So, we're understanding here that we're not to, number one, make any graven image. We're also not to bow down and to serve any graven image. For the Most High said he is jealous, and he will visit these sins, should we do this, upon the third and fourth generation of those that hate him. Those that hate him are those that walk contrary to his law and will not keep his commandments. So if you're kissing crosses, kissing statues, bowing down to them, you are in violation of these 10 commandments. Okay? Now, verse 6, we are in Exodus chapter 20. Verse 6 reads, and showing mercy unto thousands of them that love me and keep my commandments. So, if you love the Most High, you're keeping his commandments. If you hate him, you're not keeping his commandments. It's that simple. Verse 7, thou shalt not take the name of Yah thy strong one in vain, for Yah will not hold him guiltless that taketh his name in vain. Most of you don't know the name of the Most High anyway. You're calling on the name of idols. The name of the Most High is Yah. He is the creator of all living things. Speaking of that, there's someone that I know that I play golf with, and every time he misses a putt, he screams the name of the Christian idol. Now, he can believe what he wants and do what he wants, but being my brother, it was my duty to correct him. So I pulled him aside and told him, look, every time you miss this putt and you call upon the name of this idol, you're bringing curses upon your own house and upon your own head. He apparently didn't take heed to that, but he still continued to do it to this day. But I've done my part in telling him that way I do not suffer my brother to sin. So once he's been given the information, it's on him to hear or forbear. Okay? So the common thing for the Christian to do is they scream the name of their idol. All right. And the Most High said, if you call his name or use his name in vain, you will not be guiltless in this thing. Verse 8, remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. The Sabbath day, seventh day of the week. What we're not to do, we're not to cook on that day. We're not to light any fires on that day. We're not to do any servile work on that day. That every man remain in his dwelling on that day. So you're to be at home, you're to be at rest. Okay? You're to be meditating upon the Most High's laws, statutes, judgments, and precepts on the Sabbath day. You are not to be at work. Let me say that again. Okay? You're not to be at work. You're not to cook anything on the Sabbath day. You're not to buy anything on the Sabbath day. You're not to sell anything on the Sabbath day. You are not to pollute the Sabbath day. Okay? So, once again, we're to remember the Sabbath day and to keep it holy. Verse 9, 6 days shall thou labor and do all thy work. But the seventh day is the Sabbath of Yah, thy strong one. In it thou shalt not do any work, thou, nor thy son, nor thy daughter, thy manservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thy cattle, nor thy stranger that is within thy gates. So, anyone that's within your household on the Sabbath day, they're not to work. If you have servants, maids, etc., they're to be off on that day. If you're a farmer and you have cattle, they are to be at rest that day. It is the Sabbath day. Everything is to be at rest. Verse 11, for in 6 days Yah made heaven and earth, the sea, and all that is them, or all that in them is, and rested the seventh day. Wherefore Yah blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it. So it is a blessed day, a day in which he hallowed between the children of Israel and himself. Not him and everybody else. Him and the children of Israel. Okay? However, if you are a stranger and you are taking a hold of the Most High's covenant, his law, you are also to keep the Sabbath day and to keep it holy if you are a stranger of a contrite spirit. Okay? Verse 12. Honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days may be long upon the land which Yah thy strong one giveth thee. Thou shalt not kill. All right. With this commandment, thou shalt not kill. Now, you're thinking that no matter what, you're not supposed to kill someone. In self-defense, if you have to defend yourself to kill someone, that is firm and illegal. What thou shalt not kill indicates you shall not murder anyone unjustly. That's what it's referring to. If you're familiar with this book, you understand clearly as David, Governor David, was subduing the land, he had many wars. He was a man of war, and there was a whole lot of killing. Okay, when we took lands and no one was left to breathe in it. Okay, the women, children, cattle, etc. So these are killings, but do understand there's a difference between the killing someone in self-defense and in war, and to murder someone because you wanted to have something that they have, i.e. covetousness, envy, things like this. Okay, so thou shalt not kill doesn't mean you can't kill. You're just not to kill unjustly. You're not to murder. to make that specific. Thou shalt not commit adultery. Now, adultery. If we're to follow, let's go back to thou shalt not kill. Meaning, number one, we should not be killing our brother, and we should not be involved in murder. If we're to follow this commandment, the crime in our cities will drop. So it is important that we get the 10 commandments and we put it at our doors. Okay? Teach it to our children. Because if we understand that thou shalt not murder, thou shalt not kill, then we will not want to kill our brother. Okay, so that will reduce the quote unquote what they call black crime or black on black crime, etc. The murder in our cities will diminish, if not be brought down to zero. All right. Next, thou shalt not commit adultery. That's very important. What is adultery is the first thing we must ask ourselves. Adultery is when a married woman sleeps with someone other than her husband. Whether the man she sleeps with is married or unmarried, it is irrelevant. Okay? Anyone that sleeps with a married woman, they both have committed adultery. If a married man sleeps with an unmarried woman, it is not adultery. Let me say that again. If a married man sleeps with an unmarried woman, it is not adultery. However, for the simple fact that he has humbled her, she is now his wife. So now he is responsible for her all of her days. And the reason being for that is when you actually lay down and penetrate a woman, she is your wife. Is that way there is no whoredom in the house of Israel. You don't just use up the daughters of the Most High and discard them. And then you have a woman running from a man to man. It's not going to happen. Okay. So every time one of our brothers thinks that he's a player because he's running through many different women, I want you to understand, for your nonsense, what you're doing is, number one, you're walking against the Most High's commandments. And what you're doing is you're doing harm to yourself, you're doing harm to the nation, and you're doing harm to the daughters of Zion. So when you do this, you may be thinking that you are smooth, or you're the Mac, or whatever you may want to call yourself, a player, etc. You're doing harm to your own soul, number one. You're doing harm to the house of Israel as a whole, and you're doing harm to the daughters of Zion. You're doing harm to the daughters of the Most High when you are to use them up in a sexual manner and discard them. So we are not to do this. Verse 15, thou shalt not steal. That is self-explanatory. If it doesn't belong to you, you're not to take it without notifying the owner at all. Okay, so if you take something that doesn't belong to you and you did not ask for it, you did not get permission in which to take it, that is stealing. And the Most High is saying clearly here, thou shalt not steal. So if the fear of the Most High is upon you, you will not steal. Verse 16, thou shalt not bear false witnesses against thy neighbor. So this is very simple. What we should not do, we should not come forth in a court of law and lie on the behalf of someone else, or tell a lie against someone that may get them incarcerated or get them in any kind of legal trouble. So we are not to bear false witnesses. What that simply means is you're just not to lie. If you're not telling lies, then you can possibly be a false witness, because a false witness lies. Verse 17, thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's house. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife, nor his manservant, nor his maidservant, nor his ox, nor his ass, nor anything that is thy neighbor's. Now, to covet mean covetousness is to want or to have the desire to have something that is not yours. Covetousness can lead to murder. You may want something so bad that you feel as though you can kill someone to take it. Okay, so you are not, if you don't covet your neighbor's house, then you won't be trying to kill him so you could have his house. If you don't covet thy neighbor's wife, then you're not going to try to seduce her, to try to lay down with her and break the Most High's laws and his commandments. Okay? Uh, if you don't covet your neighbor's ox and anything that he has, you're not going to try to steal it or try to do any kind of nefarious things to take possession of what he has. So this is a very important commandment. Okay? Verse 18. And all the people saw the thunderings and the lightnings and the noise of the trumpet and the mountain smoking. And when the people saw it, they removed and stood afar off. Verse 19. And they said unto Moshe, speak with us, speak thou with us, and we will hear. But let not Yah speak with us, lest we die. So the mere presence of the Most High had the mountain quaking, smoke, etc. And our people were in fear of the Most High. And so we told Moshe, let us not speak with the Most High. You speak with him, and whatever it is he tells you for us to do, that we will do. Verse 20. And Moshe said unto the people, fear not, for Yah is come to prove you, and that his fear may be before your face, that ye sin not. So the Most High made a point in appearing before the house of Israel is to pretty much to scare us into doing that which is right. Okay? But apparently, even though he put us in fear and showed us all these wonderful things, yet fear does not lead to obedience, because Moshe and Aaron, let me pause right here and address this as a matter of fact. I had placed on one of the videos that the people were in fear of Moshe and Aaron. And one brother said that they did not fear Aaron. And I made plain why I disagreed. Number one, if Moshe and Aaron are brothers, Aaron is the high priest. Aaron's rod was chosen. Okay? Speaking ill, when Korah spoke ill with Moshe, I'm certain Aaron is with him. Everyone knows that Aaron and Moses are brothers. So if this man's brother, for someone who went against him, the whole ground opened up and swallowed up Korah and his company, and Aaron and Moses are together, I mean, people would be fearful of both of them. Okay? Now, the people were fearful of the Most High right here when he appeared before us at Mount Sinai, but that didn't stop the people from making a golden calf, did it? With Aaron, all right? That didn't stop them from wanting to go back into Egypt to pick a captain and take a company and go back to Egypt, back into servitude. So the fear of Israel, though they're displaying here at Mount Sinai that they are fearful of the Most High and they didn't want to hear his voice, yet that fear was not strong enough for them to say, you know what, we're so fearful that we will not break the Most High's commandments, because none of these people got into the land. The only two that got into the land was Caleb, Joshua, and the children. So though they may appear to be fearful here, that fear was not enough to stop them from walking contrary to the Most High's law. So don't think for one second that fear is going to make someone do right, because being fearful can still make them do wrong, as we clearly see that though they were afraid here, none of them made it into the land because they still continue to transgress and walk contrary to the Most High's law. All right, now verse 21. And the people stood afar off, and Moshe drew near unto the thick darkness where Yah was. And Yah said unto Moses, thus thou shalt say unto the children of Israel, ye have seen that I, singular, have talked with you from heaven. Ye shall not make with me gods of silver, neither shall ye make you gods of gold, idols, JC figurines and whatnot. An altar of earth thou shalt make unto me, and shalt sacrifice thereon thy burnt offerings and thy peace offerings, thy sheep and thy oxen. In all places where I record my name, I will come unto thee, and I will bless thee. Verse 25. And if thou wilt make me an altar of stone, thou shalt not build it of hewn stone. For if thou lift up thy tool upon it, thou hast polluted it. So if we make an altar of hewn stone to the Most High, we're not to cut it in any way or lift up any type of sharp instruments against it. Neither shalt thou go up by steps unto mine altar, that thy nakedness be not discovered thereon. So when dealing with the Most High's altar, should we in any way, in his altar, should we, one second, let me get this off my screen. All right, should we in any way make an altar to the Most High and it has any steps in it? It should not have any steps in it, because should we go up those steps and our nakedness be exposed, any of our private parts in any way, chances are that will bring about your death, and that is not something you want. So there are to be no steps upon the Most High's altar. All right, now we have read Exodus chapter 19 and Exodus chapter 20, dealing with the 10 commandments. Now we will move to Deuteronomy chapter 5. Deuteronomy chapter 5. All right. Now, with the 10 commandments, we were instructed clearly that our fathers were not given that prior to. So these 10 commandments are something that our forefathers were not given. They were not spoken to in the manner the Most High had spoken to us in the mount. All right. Now we know that Abraham had the law. Okay. Abraham had the law. You can read that in Genesis 26 verse 5. Okay. Where Abraham had the law. And the Most High knew that Abraham would command his house to follow his law. So every man of Israel, what you are to do, once you are aware of these laws, and if you're a single mother, then you are to institute the Most High's laws within your house as well, okay? But if you are the man in your house, you certainly are to command your sons and your daughters who are living with you to abide by it. All right, let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 5. Deuteronomy chapter 5 and verse 1 reads, And Moshe called all Israel and said unto them, Hear, O Israel, not hear, O whole wide world, everybody. Just hear, O Israel, this specific bloodline of people, the statutes and judgments which I speak in your ears this day, that ye may learn them and keep and do them. All right, verse 2. Yah, our strong one, made a covenant with us in Horeb. Yah made not this covenant with our fathers, but with us, even us, who are all of us here alive this day. So this is the words of Moshe, the greatest of all prophets, saying that the Most High did not make this covenant with our fathers. Okay, so it was not made with our fathers, it was made with us in Horeb. All right, and that all of the people that he made that covenant with, they were all still alive right there and then as Moshe is speaking to them. Verse 4. Yah talked with you face to face in the mount out of the midst of the fire. So I want you to understand, some people are thinking, the Most High spoke with Moshe face to face, mouth to mouth, etc. That does not mean he saw the face of the Most High. Okay, so you understand that. No one sees the face of the Most High and lives. Absolutely no one. So you understand that. All right. Verse 5. I stood between Yah and you at that time to show you the word, to show you the word of Yah. For you were afraid by reason of the fire, and went not up into the mount, saying, I am Yah, thy strong one, which brought thee out of the land of Egypt, from the house of bondmen. Verse 7. Here comes your commandments. Thou shalt have none other gods before me. So JC is not supposed to be before the Most High or anyone or anything else, including yourself. Verse 8. Thou shalt not make thee any graven image. We've discussed this. The crosses in your houses, the crosses on your necks, etc. Or any likeness of anything that is in the heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the waters beneath the earth. Verse 9. Thou shalt not bow down thyself unto them, nor serve them. For I am Yah, for I, Yah, thy strong one, am a jealous strong one, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me. Verse 10. And showing mercy unto thousands of them that love me and keep my commandments. Verse 11. Thou shalt not take the name of thy strong one in vain, for Yah will not hold him guiltless that taketh his name in vain. Verse 12. Keep the Sabbath day to sanctify it, as Yah thy strong one has commanded thee. Verse 13. 6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work, but the seventh day is the Sabbath day of Yah. In it thou shalt not do any work, thou, nor thy son, nor thy daughter, nor thy manservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thine ox, nor thine ass, nor any of thy cattle, nor thy stranger that is within thy gates, that thy manservant and thy maidservant may rest as well as thou. So anyone that works for you on the Sabbath day, they are to be at rest as you are at rest. Verse 15. And remember that thou was a servant in the land of Egypt, and that Yah thy strong one brought thee out thence through a mighty hand and by a stretched out arm. Therefore Yah thy strong one commanded thee to keep the Sabbath day. Okay? So we're to keep the Sabbath day. All right, verse 16. Honor thy father and thy mother, as Yah thy strong one has commanded thee, that thy days may be prolonged, and that it may go well with thee in the land which Yah thy strong one giveth thee. Verse 17. Thou shalt not kill. Once again, thou shalt not murder unjustly, unrighteously. 18. Neither shalt thou commit adultery. We know exactly what adultery is. We're not to do it. Neither shalt thou steal, taking things that do not belong to us without asking for it. We're aware of this. Verse 20. Neither shalt thou bear false witnesses against thy neighbor. The only way to do that would be to lie, so you know you should not lie. Verse 21. Neither shalt thou desire thy neighbor's wife, neither shalt thou covet thy neighbor's house, his field, or his manservant, or his maidservant, his ox, or his ass, or anything that is thy neighbor's. So we're not to covet, have a desire for, or want something that does not belong to us. Okay, because in doing so, we can be enticed to do something that is contrary to these laws and wish to possess that which we so desire. All right. Verse 22. These words Yah spake unto all your assembly in the mount out of the midst of the fire, of the cloud and of the thick darkness, with a great voice. And he added no more. And he wrote them in 2 tables of stone and delivered them unto me. Now, the part here, and he added no more, that's important. Okay, so when we got these commandments, we were strictly prohibited to add or take away from the Most High's law. Verse 23. And it came to pass, when ye heard the voice out of the midst of the darkness, for the mountain did burn with fire, that ye came near unto me, even all the heads of your tribes and your elders. Verse 24. And ye said, Behold, Yah, our strong one, hath shown us his glory and his greatness, and we have heard his voice out of the midst of the fire. We have seen this day that Yah doth speak or does talk with man, and he liveth. So this was a confirmation to the house of Israel that the Most High is indeed, he is alive. He is not a statue pinned up on anything. Verse 25. Now, therefore, why would we die? Or why should we die? For this great fire will consume us if we hear the voice of Yah, our strong one, anymore. Then we shall die. Once again, you know, our people were fearful of the Most High's word, and they were very afraid. All right. Verse 26. For who is there of all flesh that has heard the voice of the living God speaking out of the midst of the fire, as we have and live? Verse 27. Go thou near and hear all that Yah our strong one shall say, and speak thou unto us all that Yah our strong one shall speak unto thee, and we will hear it and do it. So this is the agreement that we have made. that we are fearful of the Most High. We do not want to hear his voice, because in so doing and hearing the Most High's voice, we may die. So Moshe, you speak with the Most High, you commune with him, and what he says we will do. Verse 28, and Yah heard the voice of your words when you spake unto me. And Yah said unto me, I have heard the voice of the words of this people, which they have spoken unto thee. They have well said all that they have spoken. So the Most High is agreeing that, okay, what the house of Israel has said is fine. They've well spoken. I will speak with you, and you will speak with them. So the Most High does nothing, but he reveals his secrets unto his servants, the prophets. So instead of him speaking directly to the house of Israel collectively like he did at Sinai, what he does, he speaks to the prophet speaks to the people. Okay, and that is the protocol. Now, we're at verse 29. Oh, that there were such an heart in them, that they would fear me and keep all, not some, and keep all my commandments always, that it might be well with them and with their children forever. So, people are telling you that the laws are done away with, etc. Let me reread what the Most High is saying here in verse 29. We're in Deuteronomy chapter 5. Oh, that there were such an heart in them, that they would fear me and keep all my commandments always, that it might be well with them and with their children forever. You determine how long forever is. With them and their children, this covenant goes through a seed line of people, generation after the next. It is an unbroken covenant with some people and their seed. Verse 30, go say to them, get you into your tents again. But as for thee, stand thou here by me, and I will speak unto thee all the commandments, and the statutes, and the judgments, which thou shalt teach them, that they may do them in the land which I give them to possess. So the Most High commanded Moshe to tell the people to go to their tents. But Moshe, you stand right here. I'm going to give you all the statutes, judgments, and precepts that you are to give them. That way, when they get in this land, they will not be lawless. They will have boundaries. They will have my laws, statutes, judgments, and precepts by which to live by. Okay? So now, verse 32. Ye shall observe to do therefore as Yah your strong one has commanded you. Ye shall not turn aside to the right hand or to the left hand, because when you do, you get hit in the mouth. Stripes, punishments, afflictions, death, starvation, wars, captivity, you name it. Okay? Verse 33. Ye shall walk in all the ways which Yah your strong one hath commanded you, that ye may live, and that it may be well with you, and that you may prolong your days in the land which ye shall possess. All right, that completes this lesson pertaining to the 10 commandments. There are many commandments. All right, there's like 618 or something like that, somewhere in the teens, 600 and something of them. Okay, however, these 10 commandments are specific, very specific, and we were to keep these on our doorpost. We're to read it, or to have it in our houses. We're certainly to obey them and to do them. And these 10 commandments were placed within the ark. Okay, that's why it's called the Ark of the Covenant, because this covenant was in the ark. Okay, those 2 tables of stone were in that ark. All right, so these 10 commandments, we're to follow all of them, and we're to follow the other commandments that we were given as well, because we saw here clearly Moshe was instructed to send the children of Israel to their tents, and then the Most High proceeded to give Moshe all the other instructions that we would have to follow once we get into the land, that we'll be able to possess it and to keep it. As you know, if you've been following the channel, if that failure to obey those instructions, that the land was programmed to spew us out. Okay, and that's why these commandments were so important, because it was our life, through the commandments we will prolong our days, and by observing and doing all these statutes, judgments, and precepts, that was the only way by which we could maintain possession of the land. If we walk contrary and turn to the left or to the right of these commandments, then we would be spewed out of the land, scattered to the four corners of the earth. And the reason why you're hearing this message now is because that's exactly where we are. We have been spewed out of the land and kicked out to the four corners of the earth, and we're doing all the things that we were instructed not to do. We're putting idols before the Most High. We're walking around with statues on our necks. All these are in violation of the Most High's law. If you read carefully, Deuteronomy chapter 4. Okay? And if you read clearly, these 10 commandments alone lets us know exactly where we are in violation of the Most High's law, statutes, judgments, and precepts. So, to recap, we're to follow the 10 commandments, all of them. Okay? And any commandment that we were ever given, we were to follow all of them. That's why the Most High said you were to follow all his laws, statutes, judgments, and precepts. It does not say some. Okay, so this covers the 10 commandments. We are to follow them. We are to do them. We are to teach them to our children. All right. Continue to stay in the Most High's law. Lift your hands in prayer facing Jerusalem, asking for forgiveness, that the Most High may strengthen us and bring us together as one stick, as prophesied in Ezekiel. Continue to give the Most High no rest. Continue to call upon his holy name. Peace, Israel. Thy righteousness is an everlasting righteousness, and thy law is the truth. Stay in this law. Continue to walk after the Most High's laws, statutes, judgments, and precepts. It is the only solution there is to our problems. Everyone can identify our problem. It is the easiest thing to do. But those who claim to be our leaders from generations past and who are quote unquote the current leaders, they can identify our problem, but what they do not have is any solution that we can actually look to and say, you know what, this will work. Because any solution that our quote unquote leaders are bringing forth or have brought forth, we have tried and it has failed miserably. And what we have not tried and have not collectively invested our time in is understanding this book and returning to this law. This we must do, for we have tried everything else and it has failed us. Peace and Yah bless.